Carla sat at the dinner table, smiling politely as her family passed dishes around. Her mother served dried chicken, her father cracked one of his usual unfunny jokes, and her younger sister beamed. "You're the best sister in the world, Carla," she said sweetly. Carla laughed, but her eyes didn't match her smile. She set her fork down gently and looked at all of them. "I'm done with all of you," she said. The table went silent. "Done? For what?" her father asked, frowning. Carla took a slow breath. "I know what you're plotting against me." The color drained from their faces, but Carla just leaned back in her chair. "Where are you watching from today? Kindly hit like, comment and subscribe to this channel for more." Carla was 33, an accountant in a mid-sized firm downtown. Her life was stable. Not flashy, not luxurious, but stable. She had a neat one-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood and a healthy savings account that she actually used for saving, not shopping. She was the kind of person who updated her budget every Sunday, paid her bills early, and never forgot to bring her own lunch to work. Her coworkers said she was boring but dependable. She didn't mind. Boring kept her safe. Boring paid her bills. Boring meant no drama. Her family, however, was the exact opposite. Her parents, Marilyn and George, were in their late 50s. They had no savings, no plans, and no discipline. Marilyn used to work part-time in retail but quit last year because she felt tired all the time. George did construction when he felt like it. Some weeks he worked, other weeks he didn't bother. They lived paycheck to paycheck, sometimes even less. Then there was Carla's younger sister, Becca. 28, dreamy-eyed and obsessed with becoming an artist. She worked part-time in a cafe, barely clocking 20 hours a week. Her paintings looked like spilled paint buckets, but she proudly called herself a visual storyteller. Carla had been paying Becca's rent for over a year now. It started when Becca was nearly evicted and called Carla in tears. "Just this once," she begged. Carla, believing in second chances, paid the $1,200 that month. Then the next. Then the next. Now it was automatic. The same thing happened with her parents. 3 years ago they called saying they couldn't make their mortgage. "Emergency," Marilyn had said. Carla wired $1,000. But then it happened again and again. Eventually she set up monthly transfers just to avoid the guilt trips and late-night crying calls. That Tuesday when her mother invited her for Friday dinner, Carla didn't think twice. "Sure," she replied. Family dinners were a monthly tradition, even if they were mostly about listening to everyone complain while Carla chewed on overcooked pot roast. When Friday came, she showed up at 6 p.m. sharp. Her parents' house was falling apart, a small ranch-style home in an aging neighborhood. The porch had been sagging for 2 years. The paint on the shutters was peeling. Inside, Carla found Becca sitting on the worn-out couch beside a tall, skinny man with a half-grown beard. Becca's eyes sparkled as she looked up. "Carla." Becca jumped up, throwing her arms around her. "I want you to meet someone very special. This is Eric, my fiancé." Carla blinked. "You're what now?" she asked. Becca giggled, showing off a tiny diamond ring. "Eric proposed 2 weeks ago. Isn't it beautiful?" Carla studied the ring. It looked like something from a pawn shop or rent-to-own store, but she forced a smile. "Congratulations." Eric stood up, extended his hand. "So you're the successful sister, huh?" The way he said successful made Carla's skin crawl. But she kept her voice calm. "That's what they say." Dinner was exactly what Carla expected. Dry chicken, canned green beans, and instant mashed potatoes. Her father asked Eric what he did for work. "I'm between opportunities," Eric replied smoothly, "but I've got some big things coming." Carla nearly rolled her eyes. Becca looked at him like he'd just invented electricity. Halfway through dinner, Becca put down her fork and cleared her throat. "Actually, I have something important to talk about," she said. Carla immediately braced herself. She knew that tone. It was the same tone Becca used every time she needed money. "Eric's parents invited us to go to Hawaii with them," Becca began, eyes bright. "They want to get to know me better before the wedding. It's a bonding trip." Carla sipped her water. "That sounds nice," she said carefully. Becca's tone shifted. "The trip will cost $12,000 for the 4 of us." She looked Carla dead in the eye. Eric did too. So did Marilyn. So did George. Carla blinked. Her hand tightened around her glass. Becca smiled sweetly. "So, I was wondering if you could help us out." Carla set her glass down slowly. I'm not going to pay for a vacation, she said firmly. You don't need $12,000 to build a relationship. Go on a picnic. Cook together. Bonding doesn't have to come with palm trees and cocktails. Becca's face turned sour. This is important to me, she said sharply. Eric leaned forward. Honestly, that's kind of rude, he said. Your parents told me you always help. This is a big deal for us. Carla stared at him. The room suddenly felt too quiet. Her parents nodded along like they agreed with him. That's when it hit her. They talked about her to Eric. About the money. About how dependable she was. Like she was a family-owned ATM machine. She took a deep breath. I'm not going to waste money on a vacation, she said, her voice calm. But when it's time for the wedding, I'll help where it matters. Until then, don't ask again. Silence followed. Becca looked like she wanted to scream. Eric stared at his plate. Marilyn and George exchanged disappointed looks. Carla just finished her food in silence. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She just decided. After dinner, Carla helped her mother clear the table like she always did. Nobody said much. Becca barely looked at her. Eric disappeared to the living room and scrolled through his phone like none of it mattered. Marilyn sighed loudly while washing dishes, but Carla didn't ask what was wrong. George muttered something about being disappointed, but Carla didn't respond. She just dried plates and stacked them neatly. When everything was clean, she picked up her coat and said goodbye. Drive safe, her father said flatly. Yeah, thanks for coming, Becca added with zero emotion. Carla got in her car and sat there for a moment before starting the engine. For years she'd been the one they leaned on. She was the one with the job, the plan, the money. And what did she get in return? Guilt. Pressure. Expectations. No one ever asked her how she was doing. No one offered to help with anything. They only called when they needed something. And now they wanted her to spend 12 grand so Becca could take a vacation with a man who didn't even have a job? She shook her head and drove home in silence. The next few weeks were quiet. Carla didn't hear from any of them. Not her mom, not her dad, not even Becca. It was strange. Usually, someone reached out within days after a disagreement, either to smooth things over or to find a new angle to ask for help. But this time, nothing. Carla checked her phone every night not because she missed them, but because she wanted to see if they were going to pretend like everything was fine again. They didn't. No texts. No missed calls. Just silence. And honestly, it was peaceful. One Thursday afternoon she decided to be the bigger person. Maybe they were embarrassed. Maybe they'd realized they crossed a line. Carla went to the bakery near her office. The one that made her mom's favorite pies. She bought a fresh apple cinnamon pie with a golden crust and warm glaze. Cost $40, but it always made people smile. She figured it could be a peace offering. I'll stop by and surprise them, she told herself. Maybe we can talk like adults. She left work early, telling her boss it was a personal emergency, and drove across town. Carla still had a house key from her college days. She used it without thinking. The moment she stepped into the entryway, voices drifted from the kitchen. Loud, animated voices. She paused. No one had heard her come in. She was about to call out when she heard Becca's voice. I still want to go to Hawaii. I just don't have the money. Carla's being so unbelievably greedy. Carla froze. Her grip on the pie box tightened. Marilyn's voice followed. Don't worry about Carla. Your father and I have a plan. I'll tell her my arthritis got worse. You know how she gets about health stuff. Carla's heart dropped. Becca laughed. You think she'll believe it? Marilyn chuckled. She always does. I'll say I need treatment. Something serious. She'll fall for it and will ask for $15,000. That'll cover Hawaii and give us some breathing room. George's voice chimed in. She's always been gullible. Too soft for her own good. Carla stood motionless, the pie trembling in her hands. Then she turned, stepped out the door quietly and took a deep breath. She walked right back up to the door and knocked. Marilyn opened the door with a huge smile. Carla. What a surprise. Her voice was bright and sugary like nothing had happened. Come in, she said. Becca appeared behind her looking thrilled. Carla. I missed you so much. She hugged her tightly. Carla held up the pie. Brought something sweet, she said, her voice steady. George came out, pretending to be happy. That's our girl, he said, patting her shoulder. Let's get some tea with that. They all sat around the same kitchen table where they'd just been plotting against her. Marilyn sliced the pie and passed plates around. Carla watched them closely now. Becca's smile was wide, but her eyes were cold. George kept sneaking glances at Marilyn, like they were sharing an inside joke. Marilyn talked non-stop, her voice too cheerful, her hands moving dramatically. Then, as if on cue, she winced and grabbed her back. "Oh, this arthritis is really flaring up," she said. "It's been awful lately. So painful." Becca and George both nodded with concern. Carla sipped her tea and said nothing. He just listened. Marilyn continued her act, describing symptoms in detail. "My hands are stiff every morning. I can barely make coffee. It's constant pain, Carla." She flexed her fingers like she was showing off damage. "I've been thinking about seeing a specialist. A proper one. But it's expensive and insurance won't cover it all." Carla nodded slowly. She said. "That sounds hard." Marilyn looked at her carefully, trying to gauge her reaction. "The doctor says I need to start treatment soon or risk serious damage," she added. Carla checked her watch. "Oh," she said, "I just remembered I've got a work meeting I need to return to. Emergency thing." Marilyn's face dropped. "Already? But you just got here." Carla stood calm and polite. "Thanks for the tea," she said, kissing her mother's cheek and hugging Becca and George quickly. Then she walked out. As she closed the door behind her, she could see them watching from the window, confused. Carla walked to her car slowly, then got in and sat quietly. Her face was calm, but her chest burned with anger. Something inside her had changed. When Carla got home that night, she double-locked her door, sat on her couch and stared at the blank TV screen. Her hands were still shaking. She'd always known her family leaned on her too much, but hearing them mock her, plan to lie and call her stupid, that was different. That wasn't just laziness. It was betrayal. She had given them thousands of dollars over the years. Paid their bills. Saved Becca from eviction. Put off her own goals so they could stay comfortable. And all this time they'd seen her as nothing but a fool with a bank account. For the rest of the night, Carla did nothing but think. She didn't cry. She didn't call anyone. She just sat there quiet and cold. And then something shifted. Her anger didn't explode. It settled. Into something heavier. Something sharper. "If they want to play games," she whispered to herself, "then so can I." She picked up her phone and opened her messages. Marilyn had sent a cheerful, "So glad you stopped by, sweetie," text. Carla smiled to herself and typed back, "Me too. Hope you're feeling better soon." Over the next few days, Carla played her part perfectly. She texted her mother like nothing had happened. "How are your hands?" she'd ask. "Are you getting any sleep?" Marilyn responded quickly, describing her worsening symptoms. Then came the hints. "It's getting really bad, sweetie. I'm scared. Might need to see a specialist soon." Carla replied, "That sounds rough. Let me know how it goes." She didn't ask how much. She didn't offer to help. She just stayed polite and vague. By week 2, the messages became more obvious. "There's a special medical center my friend told me about," Marilyn texted. "They do amazing arthritis treatment." Carla responded, "I've heard great things about those places." Marilyn followed up, "Only problem is cost. Insurance doesn't cover everything." Carla replied, "That's frustrating." And nothing else. Every day the messages became more desperate. Marilyn sent links to treatment centers. She mentioned a neighbor who raised money online. She even claimed she might lose the use of her hands if she didn't act fast. Carla didn't bite. By the 3rd week, Marilyn gave up on texting and finally called. It was a Wednesday evening. Carla had just opened a carton of takeout and was settling in with a show when her phone lit up. She considered ignoring it but picked up. "Carla, honey," her mom said softly, "we need to talk." "Sure, Mom. Everything okay? Can you come over for dinner this weekend? It's important. About my health." Carla's stomach turned but her voice stayed calm. "Of course. What time?" "Saturday. 6. I'll be there." When Saturday came, Carla dressed simply and showed up right on time. Marilyn answered the door slowly, wearing a cardigan and looking tired. "It's been a rough week," she said dramatically. "I can imagine," Carla replied. Inside, Becca and Eric were already on the couch. both of them wearing expressions somewhere between fake concern and forced seriousness. George came out of the kitchen and gave Carla a one-armed hug. "Glad you made it. She's been struggling lately." Carla nodded silently and took her seat at the table ready for the show. Dinner was as awkward as she expected. George kept bringing up how proud they were of Carla. Becca wouldn't stop complimenting her. "You're the strongest person I know," she said. "Seriously, we're so lucky to have you in the family." Eric jumped in too. "Becca tells me you've helped so much." "You're amazing, Carla." She smiled, said thank you and kept eating. She could see them watching her, trying to read her mood, trying to figure out the right moment to launch their pitch. She waited, quiet and calm, just like they taught her to be. Dessert came. More compliments. More small talk. Then Marilyn leaned back, letting out a dramatic sigh. "I hate to bring this up during such a nice evening," she said, "but I really need to tell you all something." Everyone got quiet. Carla looked at her mother, pretending to be curious. "The doctor ran more tests," Marilyn said slowly. "He's worried. If I don't get treatment soon, I could lose use of my hands entirely." Becca gasped. "Oh, Mom." George nodded. "It's serious this time." Carla sipped her tea and waited. "There's a rehabilitation center that specializes in my condition," Marilyn said, placing her hand on her chest. "It's exactly what I need. They've had amazing results with arthritis cases like mine. But the treatment is expensive." She paused and looked around. "How much?" Carla asked gently. $15,000, Marilyn said, her voice trembling just a little. "Insurance covers some, but we need help with the rest. And we just don't have that kind of money lying around." Silence fell. Carla set her cup down. Becca folded her hands and looked helpless. "I wish I could help, but I'm still barely getting by on my cafe paycheck." Eric shook his head. "I'm still between jobs. I'd love to help, but I just can't right now." George sighed heavily. "We've tried everything we can think of." Carla looked at each of them, at the fake concern, the perfect timing, the rehearsed lines. "Here it comes," she thought. All eyes turned to her, waiting for the moment when she'd reach for her wallet like she always did. But instead Carla started laughing. At first it was just a chuckle. Then it grew. She laughed so hard she had to wipe tears from her eyes. The entire table stared at her. "Carla," Becca said, uncertain. "What's funny?" "This is about Mom's health," George added, clearly annoyed. Carla leaned back in her chair and took a deep breath. "Oh, I know. I know exactly what this is about." Marilyn blinked. "What do you mean, honey?" "You don't need treatment," Carla said calmly. "You need a better script." "I heard everything." They all froze. 3 weeks ago. I came over with a pie, remember? I walked in and heard you all planning this little performance. You said you'd fake a medical emergency to get money out of me. You said I was stupid enough to fall for it. Marilyn's face went pale. George's mouth opened, but no words came out. You said you only love me when I give you money. That the rest of the time I'm just annoying with my schedules and spreadsheets. No one spoke. Not even Eric. "Carla, wait," Marilyn started, her voice cracking. Carla stood. "No. No more waiting. I've waited long enough. I've paid your bills, your mortgage, your rent. I've taken care of all of you like I'm your mother instead of your daughter. And this is how you repay me." Becca finally found her voice. "We were just desperate. You were greedy," Carla snapped. "And manipulative. And lazy. And you didn't think I'd find out." She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Becca rushed after her. "You can't just walk away. You're our family." Carla turned. "Watch me." He pointed at Becca. "I'm canceling your rent payment tonight. Find a way to pay it yourself." She looked at George and Marilyn. "And those monthly $1,000 gifts? Gone. Forever." George stood up angrily. "You're being dramatic." "No, I'm being free." Carla opened the door, stepped outside and closed it behind her. She didn't look back. That night, Carla went home and opened her laptop. She canceled every automatic payment. Her parents' mortgage contribution. Canceled. Becca's rent transfer. Gone. It took 10 minutes to undo 3 years of financial support. When she finished, she felt lighter. She turned off her phone and slept better than she had in weeks. But by morning the calls had already started. Missed call from Mom. Then Dad. Then Becca. Carla ignored them all. Her phone buzzed nonstop, but she let it. She owed them nothing, not even her attention. By midday the texts came flooding in. How could you do this? You misunderstood everything. We need to talk. Carla read none of them. She selected them all and hit delete. Around 10 p.m. her phone rang again, an unknown number. She answered it without thinking. Carla, thank God, Becca's voice said. You have to listen to me. Carla didn't even hesitate. No, I don't, she said. Becca's voice rose. You're being cruel. We're your family. Carla hung up. Immediately she blocked the number. Then she blocked Becca, Marilyn, and George from her contacts. If they wanted to talk, they could send a letter the old-fashioned way. She turned off her phone and poured herself a glass of wine. The apartment was quiet, peaceful. For the first time in years she felt like her life belonged to her. No one could guilt her. No one could beg. She didn't have to carry 3 other adults anymore. She sat on the couch, legs tucked under her, and watched the city lights through her window. She was finally free. The next week passed like a dream. No drama. No guilt. No manipulative texts. She went to work, came home, and did exactly what she wanted. She cooked when she felt like it. She read books she hadn't touched in years. She even took a dance class at the gym just because it sounded fun. For once, her life felt like her own story, not someone else's mess she was cleaning up. She didn't miss them. Not even on Sunday night when she would normally call home. Instead, she smiled and watched a movie. But just when she thought it was over, they showed up. It was Tuesday, a little after 7 p.m., when Carla heard a loud knock on her apartment door. Not a gentle knock, an aggressive, angry pounding. Her stomach dropped. She peeked through the peephole. Marilyn, George, and Becca were all outside looking furious. Carla, we know you're in there. Becca shouted. Open up. Carla didn't move. We need to talk, George barked. This is ridiculous, Marilyn added. Carla waited a moment, then spoke clearly through the door. If you don't leave, I'm calling the police. You wouldn't dare, Becca snapped. Carla pulled out her phone and dialed 911. She held it close to the door so they could hear. Yes, I need officers to remove trespassers from my apartment building, she said clearly. Silence followed. Then angry whispers. Then footsteps walking away. Carla stood there for a long moment, her heart pounding, before finally exhaling. They were gone for now. After the hallway incident, Carla didn't hear from them again. No more calls. No more knocks. It was as if they had finally accepted that she meant what she said. Through her cousin Dana, who still kept in touch with the family, Carla heard little updates here and there. Marilyn and George were working full-time again. Marilyn at a grocery store, George taking small construction jobs around the neighborhood. Becca had moved in with Eric, but apparently things weren't great. He's frustrated, Dana said. She's not bringing in money and he's tired of covering for her. Carla listened without comment. He felt indifferent. She didn't enjoy their struggles, but she didn't feel responsible for them either. Has anyone said anything about me? She asked once. Your mom says she misses you, Dana replied. But mostly they're angry. They think you betrayed them. Carla nodded slowly. Good, she said quietly. Let them be angry. Maybe they'll finally figure out how to live without me. And so she moved forward, one quiet, healthy step at a time. Months passed. Carla's savings account grew. She paid off her car, booked a trip to Italy, and even started house hunting. At work, she was promoted to senior accountant. She started dating a kind man named Ryan from the IT department, and for the first time in her adult life she laughed for no reason, slept through the night, and woke up without dread in her chest. Holidays came and went without the usual forced smiles and financial pressure. Her birthday in November? Peaceful. No calls begging for money. No fake affection. Just her and the life she finally claimed for herself. Around Christmas, Dana called again. Becca and Eric broke up, she said. He told her to get a real job or leave. He's back living with your parents. Things are tight. They're tired. They keep talking about reaching out to you. Carla stared out her window at the falling snow. I hope they don't, she said softly. Would you ever forgive them? Dana asked. Carla thought for a moment. Maybe. If they learn to stand on their own, and if they ever say, I'm sorry, without asking for anything else. She hung up and smiled to herself. She didn't miss them. She didn't need them. For the first time in years, Carla was truly free. Moral lesson. Being family doesn't mean being a doormat. When love is tied to money, it's not love, it's control. Set boundaries, know your worth, and never apologize for protecting your peace. Remember to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more of this.